Okay, here we go.
Okay, we'll just wait for a few moments for people to start joining us as it is. So, in case we don't run out of time, I would like very much to start with the webinar. First of all, thank you both, Rob and Jamie, for joining me and everyone else in attendance. My name is Christina. I'm a senior consultant at Awards International, and this is a webinar that we organized in wanting to bring you a bit of an insight from the judge's perspective on the awards industry, its benefits, how and why you should become a part of our CX community and become an award-winning company or a judge. Now, let me introduce our guests, my guest today. First off, Rob Ettridge. Rob is the co-founder at customer experience consultancy Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry. The lorries help organizations improve customer experience through better communication. He's managed customer engagement, cultural change, and tone of voice communication projects for leading financial, retail, utilities, and manufacturing clients. He has a background in public relations, branding, and communications gained in technology companies in the UK and USA. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you very much. Pleased to be here.
Pleasure to have you here. Now, Jamie Thorpe is a well-networked CX professional with more than 20 years of experience, and the majority of his career has been spent in client success service, previously holding 2 board-level CSD roles. Jamie's expertise span over marketing, CX platforms, business development, and delivery. He regularly speaks at events and has been engaged with a number of governing bodies. He prides himself on a pragmatic approach that drives actionable intelligence and recognizes the triangulation between the customer, employee, and brand experience, and the growing need for brands to be connected to and active in this ecosystem. Welcome, Jamie.
Well done. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, I wanted to start off with the awards industry itself. It's important in many ways for businesses. Rob, what have you learned or benefited from as a judge at the awards?
Yeah, many things. I guess it's probably best to put them into 3 key areas. So those are best practice, networking, and brand building. So just to take each of those in turn. So the best practice things, I mean, there's always loads and loads of learnings and aspects we can take back to our own businesses and clients, which I think is really important. Mm-hmm. We get to see firsthand, get a sneak peek at some of those entries and see some of the best CX in action. So it's brilliant to see that firsthand. And I always come back to the office thinking, you know, what more could we be doing for ourselves or for our clients as well? So that's probably the first one. The other big benefit is networking. So clearly that's been a little more challenging over the last couple of years because we've all been doing this virtual thing. But the physical events, I think are great. And I think that's a really, you know, we've met lots and lots of interesting people over the years that have gone on to become partners, clients, you know, all the rest of it. And there's quite an active LinkedIn group as well with the Judges Club that we've got involved in. So there's many opportunities to get involved in lots of different ways. And the final bit is the brand building piece. I think it's a good exercise for Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry, the lorries as we are. And in fact, I've just introduced my US colleagues to customer experience, so they're getting involved with the inaugural programs there as well. So it's a great opportunity for us to raise our profile in the industry. Those Indeed. Are probably the main things.
Excellent points. Jamie, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, if I try to avoid repeating what Rob said there, I agree very much on the points he's made there. I think the things, if I try and think about what's different there, I think promotion of the industry, I think, is important. And I know varying people have varying views on awards, and but anyone who's evangelizing and promoting our CX industry, it can't be a bad thing, right? So the benefits, I think, are making the world aware. What I love when you get to the CXAs is we seem to take over LinkedIn. I'm sure LinkedIn have a view on that, but on that particular day, everyone goes mad. I mean, I've been working with Awards International and Neil and the team for many, many years, judged many awards with the team and been involved in them. And I think back to some of the earlier award ceremonies and look at what they are now, you know, effectively taking over Wembley when we're allowed to, being physical. And the growth of them just shows you a couple of things. The growth of it in our industry, how far we've come in terms of how much good work is being done to promote experience in this country, but also people's hunger and appetite for wanting to get involved in this sort of thing. So that, you know, that evangelizing, that promotion, I think, you know, a couple of other things. I totally agree on the networking, both clients, competitors, partners, you know, everybody getting together to try and, you know, do the right thing in terms of raising that experience bar. And exactly that's exactly what this does. I see people or speak to people that have been to events, maybe not entered, maybe come into some of the open sessions, and I can see them taking notes furiously and coming away thinking, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do the other. So sharing that best practice helps raise the bar. And again, I think of some of the entries now versus what they would have been, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. And it's, you know, it's a very, very different thing. So there's so many side benefits, but the people one is the one that runs all the way through it. And the best practice is, you know, is undeniable when you see what people get from the awards. So yeah, that's my view.
I'm glad to hear you say that. This year we're going to go live at Wembley, so I hope you two will be there, and we'll have to experience that in face-to-face event again after.
Will Ian be live outside Wembley again? I'd like to see that.
Maybe inside, but outside, I doubt it. I doubt you want to miss it, though. Now, when it comes to everything that you've mentioned just now, I often get a question when consulting companies that want to enter the awards, what does recognition bring to the team? And now I ask the two of you, how are the awards beneficial for the company's culture as well?
Rob,
Jamie?
I don't mind. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So, I mean, from a cultural point of view, there are some things that we see both when we're entering awards and obviously when we're judging them. The sense of sort of camaraderie that you create in and amongst a group of people when you're entering an award is really quite amazing. You see lots of people coming together and putting in their thoughts, their views on the entry, and it creates a real bond between the agency and the client. You know, it's a real nice thing to be able to say to a client, hey, we think we should go for this. We've got a good chance. Obviously, everybody loves winning an award. Everybody loves recognition. It's one of the most obviously human of needs. When you do win and when you're on the night and people win the award and they go mad, it's fantastic. You know, that feeling, especially if it's your client on your table, but even if it's not, you know, normally the later the evening, the more raucous the celebration, but people just love it. And it's just again brings that community together. I think of some of these other events I've been to when you're in the room and there's 1,000 people in the room all hanging on, you know, who's going to win the gold, and then they go up and everybody has a party afterwards. So, you know, it's good on the night, but also it sends a message to the business. We take this seriously. We take customer experience seriously. And hey, you know, when we're in and amongst our peers and other people that are in the experience industry, we stack up pretty well. So it's a good, you know, a nice boost for the client to win the award, and it's a great thing and something to be proud of. And I see it on people's signatures. I see people posting it on their websites. I see it everywhere where we know a client has won it. They like to shout about it. So that recognition just brings more enthuse for what people are doing in experience. And even if they get the silver or the bronze, next year we'll get the gold. We'll keep going. And it just, as I said earlier, raises the bar and drives everything upwards.
Yeah. Rob? What do you
Yeah, I
think?
mean, some great points there, and again, I agree with all of those. I mean, you may not always win, but I think the process of entering and going through that as a team, I think, is really important, and that really helps to engender and motivate people. And I think we forget as well. I think the people at the coalface, doing customer complaints, handling with angry customers all of the time. Sometimes that job can feel a bit soul destroying, I think, as a job. So I think actually recognizing that actually what they're doing, there is a bigger purpose to it. And I think, as Jamie said there, it's fantastic at particularly at the end of the evening, just watching them all having the day out at the awards, getting really excited, over a few drinks, and getting more and more banter, I think, as it goes on throughout. I think that's quite entertaining as well, and it's a whole team outing really for them all. So I think that whole process is great. It just gives them a real good feel good factor.
Yeah, I think it brings a morale, it gives a bit of a boost to the team's morale,
Yeah.
in longer phases, so to say,
Yeah.
especially.
It helps also, it helps people create a strong narrative internally. There are still some
Yes.
organizations that, there's a lot that get senior sponsorship and get pushed down from the top. There are still some people that don't buy into it, and be able to go and say, this is something we can really leverage for the benefits of our customers and the benefit of our business. It, is a genuinely great thing. So a lot of people use it to help tell the story internally as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. When we're talking about the recognition, the award winning and all that, that's the end goal. But there's a process that has to be done prior to that. So as judges, I know that you're aware that there's a line that differentiates a finalist from a winner. You do that. But what makes a good entry and a presentation a winning one? There's no wrong answer.
Shall I grab this one first?
Go for it, Rob. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be quite marginal, often. So sometimes it's just a gut feel. But for me, there's a few things I think that help, a finalist from a winner really stand out. I think you've got to get both parts absolutely spot on. So the written entry and the presentation. Sometimes you see people do a fantastic written entry and then they fall down on the presentation, or the other way around. It might be a corporate department that's done the written entry with lots of jargon, and actually it doesn't really show the passion of the people that's come through. I think the one that gets the balance between the human story and the business value is generally the ones that tend to stand out. For me, a big thing as well is that link between objectives and results. So I want to see the befores and afters. So what difference has this program actually made? Sometimes it's a nice initiative, but actually it doesn't really showcase the progress that company has made or the organisation has made. And then finally, it's the people. It's their passion. Particularly for the presentations. That comes across, having that human angle for it and that authentic feel, I guess. That's really something that comes across loud and clear, and you can see they're genuinely excited about it. They're not just
bringing it to life.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a bit of both, and it's different skills for the written, for the presentation. So it's it's a good mix.
Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, if I had to sum it up, for me, it's impact. In one word, it would be impact. It's business impact, it's people impact, it's written entry, presentation impact. I mean, it comes in two parts, right? And from the written point of view, I've seen, I'm not going to name names clearly, that would be wholly inappropriate, but I've seen the good, bad, and the downright ugly when it comes to some of these entries, both from a written and a presentation point of view. And the winners are those, more often than not, those that master the basics and think about that impact. Remember that CXAs, for example, is about the customer. Put the customer into it. Make sure you're replaying what the customer impact is and what the business impact is. People need to follow the brief. Don't try and just squeeze anything you can into the boxes. It drives judges mad when they're judging all of these entries and this is what's supposed to be here. Give me context about the program or about the business, and they just squeeze anything in. People that just people that just waffle through entries, just cut to the chase. We did this was the impact. When people like that, there's a story to be told. People that bring variation in media, bring different media. If you've got some nice images, use them. If you've got videos, use them, break up the text, those sorts of things. And also one of the things that drives me mad in written and presentation entries is this is not an advert. This is not an advert for your organization. It's an advert for what you've done for the customer. So the written entry part, really, if you follow those sorts of basics, they're normally good entries, and then the results will speak for themselves. When it comes to the presentations, again, as Rob said, you've got to get both parts right. I think, again, there's a lot of basics in that. And I can still, I always vision myself. Wembley is the one that resonates with me and sticks with me. And I remember sitting in the boxes, and you get to it's 11 o'clock and we know we've got X coming in. From the minute people walk through the door, you've got to create some theatre, right? People that come 2 minutes late, bundling through the door, there's papers flying everywhere. It just looks unorganized and messy. As funny as it might be, you've got to create that theatre right from the start. And people need to tell the story, use the time effectively. The age-old presentation adage of, tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you've told them. You can't go wrong in a presentation on that. Keep structure in there. Stick to the time. Winning entries will normally stick to time or finish. It's just, if it drags on, it just looks bad. Managing the judges. I've seen people come in and engage the judges. Flattery will get you nowhere. The judges secretly like it, but there isn't a box in there that says where they really flattering. So don't try the old tricks. But
Bribes work, though.
Pardon? Bribes work. Yeah. You'd be surprised. Yeah, they tend to. But people, I've seen people come in and give out a copy of the presentation before they're going to present it, and then they're surprised that the judges are reading the presentation, not looking at what they're presenting. No, it's basic, So, those sorts of relax, have fun, don't read what's on the slides, all of those basics. But that theatre that I mentioned, is really important. It's your time. If you've done a good entry, nail the presentation, just relax, have fun with it. I've seen people come in and they bring an army of people and only one person speaks. Bring people in that can talk to it. Use customer examples. People have played videos. I've seen people bring customers in. Here's John, he's a customer and this is what he thinks. So just try to be different. Just try to be different, and that's what grabs the attention. If you've got strong results, follow those basics, try to be different, and they normally the winners will shine through naturally. But it has been amazing over the years to see what people deem to be good customer experience. I've had some some shockers over the years, but by and large, very good. So there you go. There's a lot in there. Sorry, but
no, it's all great. I've seen actually companies coming year after year and evolving in presenting, in writing the entries after their experiences, which is also a good thing. Yeah. So that's also a huge plus.
Yeah.
Now,
and if you just to add, if you have done a project for a customer, if you can bring the customer along,
absolutely,
endorse it, there's a massive tick in the box. The companies that just come along, the agencies or the consultancies, and talk about the great work they've done with the customer. Well, you really want to see the customer. You really want to see, what it means to them. So if you can do that, I realize sometimes you can't. That's a big tick in the box for me.
Exactly. Now, I want to go a bit off topic, but still within, so to say. How would you describe the state of CX today? Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say if you look back sort of 5-10 years ago, it's in a pretty healthy place. When I first sort of came into the industry, really, I think before the term CX was even invented, I think customer experience was just equal to complaints. How do you handle complaints and how do you handle customer service? So I think it was almost at that point the last chance saloon to save a customer from going to the competition. Now I think CX has become the missing link almost between marketing and customer service. So I think companies now are thinking a bit more joined up across an organisation. we're seeing CX directors join the board, get a seat at the top table on the boardroom. That's great, because it shows that companies are treating it seriously, and it's not just a tick in the box to say we've done that, but actually it's really important because it helps their reputation, it helps their bottom line. So I think that's critical. And I think the other element is it's really tied in very closely to the employee experience. So you get one right, you get the employee experience right. More often than not, you'll get the customer experience right as well. And so those two things working together, I think the companies that do the employee experience right, often the ones that win on the customer experience side. So I think it's in a pretty good place, right now compared to where it was.
Do you think that the pandemic helped us get there, or it just accelerated what was already coming?
I think companies had to think, some had to be very nimble and think on their feet. Well, how do I place, where do all those agents sit? Can we move to that virtual model? Some were already set up to do that pretty well. Others, it was, oh God, how do we sort of cope with this? When you've got dealing with all the issues that we're facing here with Zoom and the like. But I think that flexible working then I think does work, and it shows that you can actually deliver a good customer experience, whether you're sat at home or whether you're in an office or in a call center.
Mm-hmm. Jamie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think there's a hotter topic in business at the moment than customer experience. I mean, we see it. The market is so massively vibrant, both with clients and new entrants, agencies, whether they're consultancies or software or all points in between. It's just such an amazing time to be in CX, and I think that's an indication of how important customer experience is to businesses, the impact it can have, and the trajectory that CX is on. And I think part of the reason for that is that it's much more active now than it ever was. By that I mean, previously experience measures or satisfaction measures or other measures of feedback have been quite passive, whereas now everything is in the moment, everything is real time. People are joining data silos together, blending it with experience data, with transactional data, and actually using it to influence and impact a business's outcome. So we're looking at what happens when a client who typically looks like this does that. Do they defect? Do they spend more? If people can move that way and they're spending more, then that increase is worth X to the business. And we've got a model that we call Roxy, return on CX investment, which tracks from MPS performance to bottom line. And some of the results are staggering. And some of these large organizations, just the smallest of marginal gain is huge in terms of what it delivers back to the business. So people are almost waking up or have woken up to it. And to your question about the pandemic, I mean, it was on its way up before, but the pandemic has certainly amplified it and accelerated it. And the change the change that will never be the same again in terms of how we work and interact. The trust piece over the pandemic was important. So that experience, and we often talk about emotional and rational, all of the things we've been talking about for a number of years, all of a sudden are right in the spotlight. And when delivered and measured and acted on professionally, you can see the difference between those organizations that do it well and those that still only pay lip service to it. And you see those that, you talk about awards, how many times, Rob, you would have heard it, how many times do you see a written entry or someone come and present it and say, we put the customer at the heart of everything we do? I mean, it drives me mad. Yeah. And you see that they don't, but those that actually do, that genuinely take that customer-centric approach, their performance, pound for pound is far greater. So it's just incredibly important. It's an incredibly important part of any successful organization now. And those businesses that have failed or are struggling to succeed, however you look at it, normally haven't got a grasp on their CX. It's a game changer.
Would you say that, in my humble opinion, I've come across a few examples where pandemic is now, 2 years after, being used as an excuse almost for the poor customer experience. Would you say that's true in your opinion?
Yes, I see it. I see, various examples of, because of the way we work now, we're going to be slower to respond, or we're going to, do things slightly differently. I think the pandemic has definitely changed. I mean, people are a little bit more understanding. I like to think that maybe people are just a little bit nicer now in the world. Maybe that's just a bit either naive or altruistic.
That is true.
But I like to think that. And, you know, the days gone by where you'd phone up and a call center agent couldn't do what you wanted and they'd get the hairdryer treatment down the phone is gone now, because they know that the agent is just following a process, etc. So I think people are still hiding behind it a little bit. And we're in this sort of real interesting time when expectations have risen massively, but in some areas service levels have dropped off a little bit. But the gap seems to be taken up by people's understanding and actually, you know, just try to be a bit kinder and a bit more forgiving. But I think those excuses are certainly coming to the end of their term. I think as people start to return back to normal and find new ways of working, you think how quickly we pivoted to home working. It's actually, when you look back, it's fascinating. It's amazing. People with, you know, tens of thousands of contact center agents all of a sudden were able to work remotely. So, you know, moving quickly, and now we've had 2 years of it. Those excuses are gone, and customers' expectations are higher. They've got to, you know, brands have got to be on the front foot.
Exactly. Now, my last question is, what is the advice that you would give to the companies that are entering the awards for the first time? Those who have multiple questions, zero experience.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this already, but first of all, I'd say be honest with yourself. I mean, actually, have you got a compelling story to tell? Is now the right time to enter an award? Or should you wait a year? You know, sometimes it's, you know, actually knowing the right time to do that. Make sure it's in the right category as well, because I think, you know, the companies that come and enter multiple categories, it's pretty obvious that it's a cut and pasted thing. They're just putting it across lots of different categories. So be really clear about the category you want to enter as part of that. I think it's being authentic to yourself as well. I think telling your story, you know, from the heart with passion, but then blending that with the business results, the business value bit I talked about earlier. So making sure that you can show that you've delivered tangible results, and having that link between objectives and results is really important. Jamie alluded to this earlier as well, actually, which was the judging criteria. And I think they're there for a reason. You know, we've got these various things. It's to make it easy for the judges. You know, we like it easy. You know, we like it when we can have a box that we can tick. So make sure you've crossed off each of those categories as part of your entry as well. And I guess the final thing is enjoy it. You know, just be yourself. It's, you know, it's not Dragon's Den. We're not trying to you know, to really scrutinise and to make you kind of.
Can you promise that?
We're not, you know, genuinely want to hear what's the latest in CX, and that comes across. I know some people are clearly very nervous when they come in, but, you know, we're here to listen and here to, you know, hopefully encourage you and move along. We're not there to say you're fired or whatever.
Jamie?
I want to go into Rob's judging room. I've got this vision. He's got this pile of £20 notes just in the probably 50s, Rob. So advice for me to people for the first time, or either thinking or doing it, is just do it. And, you know, please look through the eyes of the judges and the customers. Please be different. Please try and break out. Because, you know, sometimes we get some very, very boring entries at some great stuff, and they really could have amplified it. Talk to people who've done it. You know, speak to those that you normally find. Again, there's a CX community, a genuine community. You know, maybe rewind this and think about some of the things that Rob and I were saying earlier, or reach out to Rob and I or other people that have done it. You know, people will be happy to help. But I just say, think about that impact. Think about the just how do you differentiate yourself? How do you bring it to life? How do you bring the theatre into the presentations? All the things we were talking about earlier. But like Rob said, just, you know, enjoy it and be prepared to learn from it and evolve as you go forward. But people, you know, as an organisation, those that do enter will get a lot from it. It is a learning, and you know, get people involved, because it's a very positive thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jamie. And thank you, Rob. Thank you to the both of you, because I know how busy you are, for taking the time to do this with me. Just without further ado, I'm just going to leave you with, I'll see you at Wembley in October, hopefully, both of you.
I'll be there.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who attended. If you want, you can email me at christina@awardsinternational.com for anything related to the UK Customer Experience Awards. And of course, this was a recorded video, so I will be sharing this to all of our potential entrants and judges to gain insight into this brilliant two minds. And thank you again. I'll see you soon and speak to you soon. Cheers.
Appreciate it. Christina. Bye.
Bye.